The Black Israelites, or Black Hebrews, are a religious movement that emerged in the early 20th century and have since gained attention for their unique beliefs and practices. Most notable is their belief that the ancient Israelites are the ancestors of Black Americans. The Black Hebrews object to the use of the term Jew based on the belief that Black Americans are descended from all 12 tribes, not just the tribe of Judah.
So these are converts that came in and took our identity when we went into slavery.
Since the 1960s, they have been emigrating mostly from the US to Israel, albeit with a certain degree of resistance from the Israeli government, who never fully acknowledged them as Jews. This meant that the law of return, which states that all Jews who emigrate to Israel will be granted citizenship, was never applied to them, thus leaving the Black Israelites without a legal place of abode. But before we dive into the Black Israelites and how they are getting on in Israel today, let us first explore the origins of the movement. If you haven't done so already, please also give this video a like and hit the subscribe button. The roots of the Black Israelite movement can be traced back to the late 19th century, when several African American religious leaders began preaching that Black people were the true descendants of the ancient Israelites. This belief emerged as a response to the systemic racism and oppression experienced by African Americans during this time. By identifying themselves as the chosen people of God, the Black Israelites sought to instill a sense of pride and empowerment within their community. One of the early figures who played a pivotal role in the development of the Black Israelite movement was William Saunders Crowdy. Crowdy, who claimed to have received a divine revelation, founded the Church of God and Saints of Christ in 1896. This marked the beginning of a distinct religious movement that blended elements of Judaism, Christianity, and African cultural traditions. The teachings of Crowdy and other early leaders served as the foundation upon which the Black Israelite movement would later evolve. In the early 20th century, other influential figures emerged within the Black Israelite movement, including Arnold Josiah Ford, Rabbi Wentworth Arthur Matthew, and Ben Ami Ben Israel. Ben Ami, whose birth name was Ben Carter, was working in an airline factory in Chicago when he first discovered the Black Hebrew movement and its philosophy. According to him, in 1966, at the age of 27, he had a vision in which the Archangel Gabriel called him to take his people, African Americans, back to the Holy Land of Israel. Ami and his followers draw on a long tradition in Black American culture, which is based on the belief that Black Americans are the descendants of the ancient Israelites.
It's part of Africa right by Ghana, right? And so if you look deeply into this, you can see Benjamin, you can see Judah, right? You can actually see that the tribes of Israel was in this place, right?
They are also influenced by the teachings of the Jamaican proponent of Black Pan-African movement, Marcus Garvey, and the Black civil rights figures such as Malcolm X. From these figures and their teachings, they have incorporated elements of Black separatism as well as the doctrine which advocates the repatriation of the African diaspora to its ancestral lands in a return to Africa, of which they consider Israel to be part of. To them, Israel is located in Northeast Africa in the same way that Egypt forms part of the Levant. The inspiration to move to Israel was born from several components. One component was the hardship which Black people faced within America, especially in Chicago in the 1960s at the height of the civil rights movement. Another component was the community's willingness to form a confident and positive African identity as opposed to the negative identity which the group was associated with in America.
All the society is doing is leeching off the ghetto. They use the ghetto for their pain, for their sorrow, for their culture, for their music, for their happiness, for their movies, to talk about boys in the hood, you know what I'm saying?
The last component was the religious and spiritual connection to a long-standing culture, an ancient history, and a promised land. Before heading off to Israel, Ben Ami and 350 of his followers first settled in Liberia in 1967. According to a community leader, they chose to stay there for about 2.5 years in order to get rid of the foolishness of America before making their way to the land of Israel. The group aimed to immigrate to Israel under the Israeli law of return, which states that all Jews who emigrate to Israel will be granted citizenship. However, in order to qualify for citizenship under the law of return, a person must be born a Jew, or he or she must be the child or grandchild of a Jew, or he or she must have converted to Judaism, and he or she must not be an active member of another religion. Failing to meet these requirements, Ben Ami and his followers did not qualify for Israeli citizenship. This deterrent did not stop them from moving to Israel. In 1969, the group began to move to Israel by using temporary visas. Most Black Hebrews entered Israel on tourist visas, and they overstayed their visas by living in Israel as illegal immigrants. Initially, the African Hebrew Israelites asserted that they were the only rightful inheritors of the land of Israel. They refused to convert to Judaism, and they also asserted that most Israeli Jews were not the descendants of the ancient Israelites. As more and more members of the group continued to arrive in Israel, the desert town of Dimona became the epicenter of their settlement. For 2 decades, their population continued to grow largely through illegal immigration. The group maintains a vegan diet. They practice abstinence from alcohol, other than the naturally fermented wine which they make themselves, as well as abstinence from both illegal and pharmaceutical drugs, so as to stay within the cycles of life. They grow most of their own food, and their members wear only clothing made from natural fibers, which are sewn by members of the community, and all must bear blue thread and fringes as mandated in the Bible. Men wear a form of kippah and have beards. They are polygamous, meaning that a man can marry several wives, usually up to 6. Throughout the 1970s, tensions between the group and the government grew as the group faced low employment, inadequate housing, and attempted deportations, while the government considered its members illegal aliens. Ben Ami accused the government of being racist. He also accused it of occupying the Holy Land by claiming that the greatest conspiracy ever conceived in the minds of men was the creation of a national homeland for Jewish people. Despite the Black Hebrews not being considered Jewish, they have nonetheless been able to improve their situation in Israel and secure a future for their community. In 1992, with the help of the Congressional Black Caucus of the United States Congress, the Israeli government signed an agreement which stated that the Black Hebrews would be granted temporary residency status if they did not receive new members. At the end of 2003, the group was granted permanent residency status by the Israeli Interior Ministry. In 2004, Uriyahu Butler became the first member of the community to enlist in the Israel Defense Forces. The IDF agreed to accommodate some of the group's religious requirements, in particular its dietary requirements. Today, young men and to a lesser degree young women from the African Hebrew community of Jerusalem serve in the IDF, and they have entered international sporting events and academic competitions under the Israeli flag, as well as having represented Israel twice in the Eurovision Song Contest. It is believed that in 2009, Eliakim ben Israel became the first Black Hebrew to receive Israeli citizenship without converting to Judaism or marrying an Israeli.